We celebrate Women's History Month. Today is Equal Pay Day. It's a day dedicated to drawing attention to the gender wage gap we still see.
Now, the date is different every year because it symbolizes how far into the year the average woman has to work just to make what the average man earned the entire previous year. Now, joining us now is Cherita Ellens, President and CEO of Chicago nonprofit Women Employed. Cherita, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad to have you. A very important topic. Research released last month from the Pew Center showed the gender pay gap hasn't changed much in the last 2 decades. In 2022, women still earned an average of 82% of what men earned compared to 80% in 2002. So that's not much of a change over 20 years. We know that gap is much larger for women of color when compared to white men. What's your reaction this morning to these results?
Well, this is my work, so I'm not surprised by it. And I'm glad that today is Equal Pay Day, and it's an opportunity for us to build awareness around this topic. But for me, what's really important is that we began to take the steps to take action, because those numbers, when you think about it, when you think about the impact, when you think about the lost wages, what that represents is $1.6 trillion every year in lost wages to women. That represents, on average, more than $400,000 over a lifetime, a 40-year career for the average woman, $1.2 million over a lifetime for Latina women, and $900,000 over a lifetime of wage loss for Black women. So when you think about that impact, that is like a severe impact to our economy, to our communities, and to our households. So I want us to move past of just thinking about this as one day where we keep talking about the same thing, and that we really move into a place where we want to take action to begin to close those gaps.
Absolutely. We'll talk about what women can do and to advocate for themselves in just a bit, but let's talk about the why. I mean, I'm sure this could be a very long, loaded topic, but why do we see such disparities? Like, what have you guys pinpointed as main reasons?
The primary reasons are, of course, gender and racial discrimination. We still are, faced with that. Another big reason is occupational segregation. Women are overrepresented in jobs that pay less and underrepresented in jobs that pay more. And then the third reason is that motherhood tax. Women shoulder the load of caretaking in this country, and that has a huge impact on our income over the years.
Yesterday, Mayor Lightfoot announced an executive order to require biannual pay equity audits of all City of Chicago workers focused on identifying both racial and gender pay discrepancy. You talked about taking action. Do you think this is a positive step towards equal pay? And what are some other solutions you'd suggest to kind of narrow that gap?
Absolutely. I applaud Mayor Lightfoot for taking that step in showing how employers can lead in this. Employers really do have a place in changing this narrative. So those pay equity scans, and not just doing the scan, but reporting and sharing the results of that and disaggregating the data to truly understand where your issues are is a big first step. One of the other things that Governor Pritzker signed into law in 2021 was a no salary history ban, where employers cannot ask you about your previous salary to determine what your current salary will be. That is a huge step. When we talk about the other thing that went into effect is the Equal Pay Amendment that requires employers of 100 employers or more to report their data to the state. And as an employee, you can then write into the state and request pay information for individuals in your company that have similar jobs to you, to make sure that your pay is in line. So all of these things, yesterday, the paid time off bill that was signed by Governor Pritzker also helps close the pay gap. So we have to look at both what we can do in policy and what can be done by employers.
And some of those things are out of our control, maybe, as the employer, someone in the workplace right now. What are your best tips for someone watching, a female, who's saying, I need to advocate for myself better? What should I do?
One, you want to know your rights. You want to make sure that you understand what the equal pay statutes are in your state. For anyone that's in Illinois, you can go to equalpayillinois.org to understand what your rights are. Number two, you want to do your homework and understand what is the going salary. You want to talk about your salary to your colleagues. You want to ask your male counterparts about their salary as well, so that you can make sure that you are receiving equal pay for equal work as well. And those are a few of the things that you can do to advocate for yourself.
Really helpful.
Yep, absolutely. I was going to say so much great information. Cherita Ellens, President and CEO of Women Employed, thank you so much for joining us and being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, glad you were here, especially because this is such an important topic. We got to get some insider information. Thank you. Well, starting